So as we discussed in our last video about the $3 ultra budget 1999 period correct-ish Windows 98 gaming build, the retro PC gaming hobby can get very expensive very quickly if you have your heart set on using specific collectible components. For example, this Voodoo 5 5500 AGP will cost you hundreds of dollars if you purchase a tested example on eBay. But what if, instead of buying by the card, you bought by the pound? eBay's scrap auctions are a way to quickly expand your library of retro PC components without breaking the bank. However, you have no guarantees as to what condition these components are going to be in and really what you're going to be getting. So I just won this auction. I paid $17.50 plus shipping for about 7 pounds of PC cards from the late 90s and it looks to be the early 2000s. I have no idea what's in here. Let's turn the camera around and see what we got and see if our gamble paid off. Does any of this stuff work, and do we find any grails that we're going to be excited to throw into our retro PC rig? Let's find out. Okay folks, this could go well or this could go poorly. Wish me luck. There's some newsprint. Okay, thing number one. We have, and I think CT4780, this is an OEM Sound Blaster Live, but I think this one can actually take the normal VXD drivers if you force them. I've had a few of these. They're handy. But definitely don't have a lot of value. Ooh, now this is what we're talking about here. This, you can kind of tell from the very distinctive RAM sync cutout for this capacitor. This is a Gainward GeForce 4 Ti 4200. Quite hefty. You can see we got RAM syncs front and back. The GeForce 4 Ti, I actually don't even own a GeForce 4 card until I guess this moment. The GeForce 4 Ti, upheld by many to be sort of the ultimate Windows 98 card because it has exceptional performance in Windows 98 games, as well as excellent compatibility, and you can run fairly early NVIDIA drivers with this. If this works, this is worth the cost of entry right here. But these also are known to die fiery deaths. They run quite hot, and if there's anything wrong with this fan, which is, it spins a bit, this thing may burn itself out, but we'll have to find out. This is interesting. All right, more of this lovely material. Let's see, more on the sound card side. This is the low profile. It has Sound Blaster Audigy, so I guess this is OG Sound Blaster Audigy in low profile form. It's handy to have these around. Again, they're not really worth anything. Oh, look. Well, if it's not our old friend, this looks exactly like mine. In fact, it has a mark pretty much in the same spot on the heatsink. Well, this turned out last time to be a GeForce 4 MX with an 8X AGP interface and a 64-bit memory bus and Dell OEM model, and I fully anticipate that that is what this one is as well. It has its uses in a budget build, as we learned with a $3 baller, but I'm definitely not as excited about this as I am about our GeForce 4 there. Okay. Now here's something else that's interesting. As we can see from the BIOS chip here, R128P, as well as the extremely helpful large silkscreen on the back here. This is a ATI Rage 128 Pro graphics card. These things gave the TNT cards that NVIDIA put out a run for their money, but they're not necessarily well-respected cards, but at the time actually these were quite neat because you had these incredible video in, video out features on the retail boards. I think of all the cards that were available sort of right around this time. This one sort of suffered the least when you switch from 16-bit to 32-bit colors. So this might actually be a fun one to play around with. Again, assuming it's functional, but that is what we are assuming left and right here. And we will find out when we actually put these things into a system whether or not that's a good assumption. But this is an interesting card to play around with. There were higher spec versions of these. I think they had active cooling that were marketed as Rage Fury, but it's an interesting little piece of ATI history. Ooh, more. Okay, this is more kind of what I was expecting would happen. This is some sort of, what is this? Sometimes it says, this is some sort of IDE controller. Yay. We're not going to need this pretty much for any reason. Maybe let's just toss this in the over here file. All right, what else we got? Okay, this looks like one of those ultra cheap, I mean, obviously, OEM, it says compact premiere sound on it, but I believe this is probably a creative rebadged InSonic card, one of like the audio PCI cards. There's this kind of sticker over the chip, which makes it hard for me to tell if I could read the numbers off of that. I'd be able to verify it, but this is a really low-end sound card. I'm not so interested in that. Okay, next up is this very similar looking creative sound card. Again, this looks very audio PCI to me, like some rebranded InSonic thing. Really low end, probably not going to be terribly useful for our purposes here, but it's another thing. Add it to the more scrappy heap. And this is an example of the sort of stuff you can expect to get when you purchase big lots of computer scrap. It's a wireless LAN PC MCIA card, it appears, with a PCI sort of interface down here. Right, if you want to give your machine, well, I guess 802.11b, here you go. More of this. Okay, now I come across these pretty often. Pretty much, there's so many Dell OEM cards that kind of use this layout. It looks a lot like, in fact, almost identical to this GeForce, well, I think it's probably a GeForce 4 MX with a 64-bit memory bus. If you see capacitor layout, in fact, I'm pretty sure this is actually the exact same PCB, but here we've got all the RAM chips. We've got a 128-bit memory bus and active cooling, which sort of suggests more aggressive clocks for whatever this is. And I have no idea what this is. Is this like a GeForce MX 460, which some of which had active cooling? Is it an FX 5200 that has active cooling for no apparent reason? 5500? This is somewhere between completely horrible and just mediocre, and I guess we'll find out when we test it. These things also always work. I've never seen one of these Dell OEM NVIDIA cards with AGP interface fail. Maybe one day. Today could be that day when we finally find a Dell AGP card that doesn't work. Here's something that is even worse, but actually more interesting to me. This, based on the PCB, I've seen things like this before. This looks like an NVIDIA TNT2 M64 with a PCI interface. So a TNT2 hobbled with a 64-bit memory interface. Actually, you know what? It might be even less. There are no chips on the back of this, but I see a 32, I think, in that serial on the RAM chips. And maybe those are 32-bit RAM chips, and then we do have a 64-bit memory interface. But these, horrible though they are actually kind of cool in a socket 7 like Pentium 200 MMX DOS build. Because they have fantastic VESA compatibility, and decent video output, and they're nice and fast and compatible with DOS games and have good Windows drivers and things like that. So not a bad choice actually for like a Socket 7 DOS or Windows 95 build. I'm kind of intrigued. That might be a fun one for the period correct 95 build to become very unperiod correct, but could gain us some frames. Okay, this is more of the sort of stuff you get in scrap boxes. This looks like a PCI X card with a lot of SATA on it from Adaptec. We're probably not going to need this for anything. We'll add that to the not so interesting pile. Oh, friends, we've got a trio, at least a duo, of some interesting things here. Going back to Team Red. Hi there. This says, if you look down there, it says 96 Pro / 9550. And that in the HB interface and general layout here tells me that this is either a Radeon 9600 of some sort, possibly Pro as it says, or a Radeon 9550. Now they're essentially the same. They both use the cut down sort of RV, I think 360 die, which is half of a Radeon 9800 Pro, but even half of a 9800 Pro is still a formidable card for Windows 98 and early Windows XP. I have a ton of these, and they overclock to varying degrees, but this is a good card. It says here, interestingly, it says R9600 Pro, so maybe we don't even have to fool around with this to get it up to 9600 Pro speeds. The only difference between 9550 and a 9600 Pro are the clocks, and this thing looks like it was born to clock here. This is exciting. These are really useful. I've got one of these in my Socket A Symfron 3000 build, and it performs great. I love these. Unfortunately, I have a ton of them, so it's not too big of a deal. But it could be a great starter card for your sort of late Windows 98 or Windows Millennium Edition build. But oh, friends, look what we have here. Oh yes, from that skewed heatsink to those little VRM sinks up there near top left, that Molex power connector on the right. This is a beast. This is the mighty ATI Radeon 9800 Pro, 128 megs by the look of it. Yes, this was a formidable card in the early 2000s. Enormous compute power, great DirectX 9 card. Absolutely blew away NVIDIA's FX series and really remained relevant right up until, around 2006. And this is the card of choice for early 2000s games like, Far Cry. If you're talking about Half-Life 2, this is the one. Incredible performance for its time. Really, this was an era when ATI absolutely was blowing NVIDIA away. And this is the card that did it, the full fat 9800 Pro 128 meg here. So this is great. This is going to be Alan's Christmas present. Alan, do you see this? I hope it works, buddy. And if it doesn't, I'll try to figure it out if it's a simple fault. Now, the only problem with these is that they tended to run hot and then burn out. I don't know if it's visible here, but that little shiny spot between the heatsink and the package is a shim, and at least on many of these, that shim was a little bit too tall. This is one of the first exposed die GPUs, and that little shim would actually prevent the heatsink from actually sitting on that die properly, and ended up insulating it a bit. And they tried to fill in the gap with a lot of the world's worst thermal compound, but a lot of these things just toasted if you didn't put a third-party cooler on them. And hopefully this one has not suffered that fate, because this This is amazing. This is more than worth the price of entry here. If this works, I'm a happy guy. I think it gets its own pile. How about that? Pile of joy. Oh, here's some crap. What is this? Oh, is this a modem? I think this is a modem. Is it a V92 modem? It's a Broadcom modem. V92. That's right. Okay, don't need that. And what else we got? Okay, it's a NIC. It's a Realtek NIC of some sort. Underbase T, probably, maybe. Who cares? What else we got? More paper. Oh, some of these. Oh boy. Okay, so this is kind of what I expected. These are low profile versions of almost always some, GeForce MX card. 2MX, 4MX, whatever MX. They don't perform remarkably well. This one, interestingly, has these SG-RAM quad flat packs. You don't see those too often on these. Usually it's the cheaper sort of SD-RAMs. But this one must be an earlier one because, look, you've got a VGA interface on it, so this can't run dual monitors. These are very common in sort of low-profile office PCs that OEMs like Dell and HP would put out. This one kind of interesting that it has just a regular VGA. I wonder what it is. I guess we'll have to find out. These also typically tend to work no matter what condition you find them in. So I'm not concerned about that not working, but I don't really care too much if it does work either. Here's kind of more of the same. This one with the more expected sort of normal SD RAMs on it. Yeah, it's a card. Any information on the back that might be useful to us? Nope. But again, this one is interesting. This one has a TV out on it, and it's a low-profile card with a full size slot thing on the back. So okay, well, interesting. We'll try it out and find out what it is. More from the low-profile club here. This says R128 piece. We know this is a ATI Rage 128P sort of product. We've got some unpopulated SD RAM there, so I think we're probably looking at a 64-bit memory interface, and this is the Rage 128 Ultra, but I don't know what's so ultra about it, given that its memory bandwidth is cut in half. So maybe not so ultra, but you found these a lot in office PCs and servers and things. Oh, okay. What's this? More sound. This one is a Sound Blaster Live 24-bit SB0410. Sounds a little bit more enthusiast, at least in terms of the model number. But yeah, low profile again. Interesting. Maybe we could do a low profile build. We've got so much low profile stuff in here. But not quite as low. And we have digital out. That's kind of interesting. All right, well, this might be worth playing around with, possibly. It's always nice to have a sound card or two sitting around. Moving right along. Now we're getting into more stuff that I don't really care about. Possibly a video capture card. A lot of BNC connectors here on the end. I guess this is for your security monitoring system, or it's something else entirely, and I don't understand what it is, but I don't think I'll be using that very much. Thank you. What is this? An Adaptec SCSI card. Again, PCI X looks like. Lots of SCSI on here. Yeah, I don't have a lot of use for this, but somebody else might. So this might go back on eBay. Alright, what else do we have? Oh, is this another modem? No, it's not another modem. It's another NIC. This one by a different manufacturer. This is an Intel NIC. Oh, look at that. Okay, a NIC with an Intel chip. Well, I might actually throw this in a machine. I like Intel NICs. They have nice drivers. And more early Wi-Fi. This is the D-Link Air DWL520. Yes, that is what it is. Okay. Oh, I slammed it into my monitor. Paper. Oh God. Okay. Well, it's starting to get a little monotonous here. Here's another low-profile, probably NVIDIA MX card of some. It could even be an FX card. I don't know. But this one. Now this one has this on the end. Now this is not a DVI connector. This is a dual monitor connector. You need a special breakout cable in order to actually use this. Those are not hard to come by on eBay or anything like that, but it kind of adds another step to the process of getting these working. So I'm actually kind of less excited about this than I am even about the other low profile cards. I don't know. What is this one? Is this another one? Okay, this one says ATI Technologies over there. So this is not going to be a GeForce MX card. It's going to be, there's another Pro, Ultra, not so Ultra Rage card. Does not even say, and again, we've got unpopulated RAM area here, so this is not going to probably be a performance monster, but we do get proper VGA out. At least it's worth a test. Oh gosh, the fun never stops. Hey, if you would like a GeForce 4 MX low profile card or FX 5200, whatever this might be, with this proprietary connector on the end, well, just put your comment down there in the comment section, and yeah, Smug and Play can hook you up, because what am I gonna do with all these? Right, oh no, it keeps going. This one has a bigger heatsink though, doesn't it? Is that larger? Yeah, it is. It's longer. Look at this one. It's the long heatsink edition. Oh, of course, because this is not an AGP card. This is a PCIe card, so we must be talking. I don't know, did they make any 6000 series cards in this low-profile OEM with dual monitor connector on it? Who knows, but I also do not care. Okay, here's another thing in PCIe, a little bit too late for me, but P&Y Technologies brings us this. Love the PCB color, I'll say that much. What is this? Well, it's all torn up in the exact section, but I think that says 7300 GT with 256 megabytes of DDR2 memory. Not exactly blowing me away. This one doesn't really hit me in the nostalgia region. Okay, it's a thing. So it's getting newer as we go down. This is some sort of low profile MSI PCIe card of some kind. What kind of card might ye be? Well, let's see, 8400 GS in the sticker there strongly suggests this is a GeForce 8400 GS in low profile form, and heatsink seemed a little bit loose there. Oh, this one's heavy. Also more low pro, but this is by Zotac. Sort of notable graphics card, especially sort of low profile and mini PC manufacturer. This is chunky, very chunky low profile card with a with a Molex connector on the end. What is this thing? What does it say? 9600 GT with a 256-bit DDR3 interface. Completely obsolete and not particularly nostalgic for me. I got a 9800 GTX, which is a little bit more fun than this, but I guess if way back in the day you were doing a low profile build, this might have been a good option for you. This one might go up on the bay if it works. Gosh, wait, is this heatsink? Gosh, this is like most of it right here. You know, so seven pounds worth of graphics cards, and this one weighs as much as like 3 of the others. Oh, is that it? We did it! We got to the bottom. Okay, so the obvious winners here are hello. Let's just admire it a little bit more. The ATI Radeon 9800 Pro in AGP with DVI, VGA, and TV interfaces all on there. I really hope it works, and if it does, I'm going to, if it shows any signs of life, I'm going to do a full restoration of this, and somebody's going to get a very nice Christmas present. The other real winner here, this Gainward GeForce 4 Ti 4200 with these bizarre RAM sinks with cutouts for the capacitors. I would be enthralled if this worked, just because I've never had a chance to play with a GeForce 4 in my life, and I've got plenty of Windows 98 second edition machines that would love this. And look at that weird, it's almost like a Matrox Mystique-esque kind of weird, sad, scary clown thing that they put on here. Gainward, known for their bad boxes, and that extends to their cooling solutions as well. So interesting, also fairly chunky. All right, so let's see what, if any of these work, because if none of them work, then it's going to be hard to say that this was worth your money. However, if even one of these really great cards works, $17.50 is a pretty cheap price for either of those, given where PC parts are right now. So let's start plugging these things in, and let's find out what actually works here. Okay, guys, so I've spent a day testing almost all of the cards. I didn't test some of the PCI Wi-Fi adapters and things like that I have no interest in, but I went through all the video cards, and let's talk about what worked, what didn't, whether or not this is a viable strategy for collectors or people who want to get into the hobby and try a bunch of different hardware configurations they didn't have access to back in the day at an affordable cost. So first things first, bit of good news. This Gainward GeForce 4 Ti 4200 is completely functional. I blew out the fan with compressed air, dusted off the RAM sinks, popped it in, and it blew through 3D Mark 2000, 3D Mark 2001, no problem. It is a perfectly functional card, and this card alone, I don't see a lot of examples on eBay right now, but somewhere between $50 and $100. I think the Phil's Computer Lab videos praising the GeForce 4's performance and compatibility in Windows 98 games has really kept the price of even the lower end GeForce 4 proper cards fairly high. And this is a somewhat desirable one. It looks very period, has the scary clown that Matrox was into, and Gainward's kind of got that as well. I don't know. It was an interesting period. There's some articles on this, but this totally works. So already we've easily made up the cost of the scrap bundle of $17.50. How much further can we go? So that's the good news. A bit of not terrible news, but not also excellent news. The card I was really excited and surprised to find, I did not see this initially in the photos. This Radeon 9800 Pro is mostly functional. There's some artifacting that I see in the video, even at the stock speeds here. Stock speeds on the 9800 Pro were known to be aggressive, and so many years out, it's possible it can't quite sustain that. I'm thinking I'm going to try to underclock the RAM. I've heard some people have had some success with that, so maybe we can have a slightly diminished but totally functional 9800 in time for Christmas, for somebody's Christmas present, if we can do that. So I'm still hopeful here, because otherwise the card seems to be in very good shape. There were a few capacitors that actually got knocked off. I was able to repair those very easily, actually pulling some parts off of a low-profile Rage 128 card that I also received. But I'm hopeful for this. If it doesn't work out, it's okay in terms of cost, but I'm attached to it. I'm a little attached to it. Okay, let's talk about other stuff. So, things that I didn't know the exact sort of identity of at the time, and have since learned more about this extremely generic looking NVIDIA card. As I said, this exact same layout is used for, you know, MX 440s and FX 5200s and so on and so forth. This is actually a Quadro FX 500 OEM card, and it is basically the worst Quadro card that was ever made, as far as I can tell. It's basically a 5200 FX 5200 with you know, guaranteed 128-bit memory bus and fairly fast memory. So we get a lot of memory bandwidth. You know, we're like 7.6 gigabits. So it's a lot, but what's that going to do for you in a 5200? Not terribly much. Some people were talking about this as sort of a replacement for GeForce 4 Ti or something. If you are CPU bound, if you have 1,000, you know, megahertz Pentium 3 or something like that, it will perform very similarly to even a high-end GeForce 4. But if you are not so CPU bound and you're throwing this into a faster Athlon XP system or something like that, this is not going to hold a candle to even the 4200 over there. So I don't know. It could be useful for something, but not that exciting, and does require. I think the earliest driver you can run on this is 40.71 or 40.72, so it doesn't let us go and explore earlier drivers as well, so I'm not too excited about that. On the plus side, now that I've talked about a card that's 10,000 times faster than this and been disappointed, I'm going to pretend to be really excited about this, but this was a PCI TNT2 M64, not surprisingly. I've seen a lot of these, but and it is fully functional. So this could be a lot of fun actually to play around with in my Socket 7 build. See how it stacks up against, for instance, the Matrox Millennium or other similar fast cards from the period. This is obviously outside the period, but I really like that we have VESA 3.0 in here. I also have a PCI Voodoo 32000 that I've used in that machine that has VESA 3 on there, and it's great for playing late DOS games at high resolutions. But it runs very hot, and I don't want to kill it for no reason. So this could be a good solution for the day-to-day. Bit of a disappointment, this guy over here. So this is it seems almost like a retail Rage 128 Pro. Nothing but vertical banding, vertical rainbow lines of various colors, sometimes changing when it booted into Windows. But the video output is completely toast. It looks more severe than a VRAM issue or anything like that. I've seen things like this happen with a lot of 1998 to 2001 sort of era ATI cards. Not sure what was going on there. If you have had an ATI Rage 128 Pro or 3D Rage Pro or the Expert 98s and things fail on you, I'd be interested to know, have you been able to get them back? What is up with these? What's happening? I wouldn't expect these to be as unreliable as they seem to be. Then again, I am buying scrap. I'm buying scrap auctions, but the GeForce 4 MXs always work. So this thing is probably toast. I would be interested if anyone's ever repaired one. This guy that looks exactly like the GeForce 4 MX 440 with 64-bit memory interface that we have in our $3 baller build, this guy is actually GeForce FX 5200 with a 64-bit memory interface. I don't know which one I hate more. They're both terrible, but of course it works. Actually, this one has an interesting issue. The DVI output doesn't work, which makes it even less attractive. But VGA does work, and it passed all the benchmarks. There's something wrong with the DVI output. Yeah, interesting. What else? Let's talk about the 9600 Pro. As I said, even half of a 9800 is a mighty card, and the thing is, I have so many of these. I kind of made a hobby of turning 9550s and X1050s into 9600 XTs. And so I got like stacks of these. This works totally fine except for the fan. The fan is completely dead. I'm looking for a replacement that doesn't say NVIDIA on it, just so I don't confuse myself. But this is another win. obviously we're blowing past $17, right? Like, assuming I do get the 9800 to work, that's a card that easily, fully functional, can go for, you know, $70 or so. So, and these other cards, most of them are really of dubious value, you know, between free and like $5. I wouldn't put a lot of value on them, but all the same, it's nice to have spares. It's nice to have things that you can experiment with. For benchmarking purposes, which is sort of why I buy in these big bulky lots, it's helpful. Let's see, any last things? Okay, so you remember these sound cards that I thought were probably rebranded InSonic cards that Creative put out after Creative purchased InSonic, and this was when InSonic had gone low end and had made cards that basically fulfilled the AC97 spec and then left it there. That's exactly what this is. These are Sound Blaster Audio PCIs, really no frills audio cards that could be useful if you just need to get some sort of audio output in Windows. But one of the things InSonic did to make these things cheap is that there's no FM synthesis built in, and so it uses wavetable and software to try to emulate FM synth. And there's some great videos maybe I could link to here about what that sounds like in classics like Doom 2, and the answer is absolutely horrible. It is like comically bad how bad these are. I did get some other cards, a 24-bit live, and an Audigy in low profile. Those will be more useful in XP builds and other things like that. So, or Windows 98. I use live in Windows 98 all the time. So those are handy to have on hand. I don't know if I would have bought them if I saw them. So is this a good idea? Is this a good idea for you? Well, I have now an enormous pile of e-waste that I need to deal with. If that is something you can deal with in your area, and they take residential e-waste for free, and they have like a good upstream partner, and you know it's not going to be burned next to a river in some other country, then that's okay. I think that this is a much cheaper way to get your hands on some, not necessarily highest end hardware, but higher end hardware if you're willing to take a little gamble, and if you're willing to put in a little bit of elbow grease, as I had to do, because when you're buying this much, these things aren't tested, and they're not going to be perfectly packaged. They're going for volume and weight here. So I did have to put on a few capacitors. If you're not comfortable resoldering surface mount capacitors and things like that, there are a lot of tutorials online you can read about. But it's worth knowing in this hobby, because replacing capacitors is like a weekly thing for me in order to be able to continue to test vintage hardware that I love. Okay, so that's been a lot of talking. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. People say whatever. I find it obnoxious, so don't even do that. But write some comments down there. Let me know what your experience has been buying scrap auctions. I know I've seen a lot of other YouTubers out there, with big hauls or just getting absolute garbage, and then having mixed reactions to it. But if you look at what you're getting, and you see that it's it's the period you're buying from, and it's not just all processors that have broken in half, or cards that have had the edge connector snipped off of them. You can see that the cards are intact and from the right period. Has that worked out for you? Because it seems this time to have worked out pretty well for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's keep the discussion going in the comments, and we'll see you next time on Smug and Play.